Russell Westbrook was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and probably some other stuff. I'm getting to this topic kind of late, but that's okay. Well, like everyone else, I've been hearing the rumors about Russell Westbrook to the Lakers for a little bit now. I initially thought that was just noise and that there wasn't really anything to it, because I did not see why the Lakers would do this move. Or, I mean, I guess to have more talent, but I just thought it was just a fantasy move and nothing that would actually happen. And I did not think the Lakers would have the assets to trade for Russell Westbrook, and probably should have looked at their overall team and draft pick situation before coming to that conclusion. In addition to that, I just thought LeBron and Westbrook would be an awkward fit. And I still think that now. Question how good this team will really be. LeBron James and Dwayne Wade played together for 4 seasons, and they did go to 4 straight finals and win 2 titles, with Wade and LeBron not really being good shooters. But here's the thing with that. There are a few things I'll say about that. One, LeBron and Wade always was kind of an awkward fit. I've often said this about Dwayne Wade, and I think Thinking Basketball, the guy or the people who run that channel, I think even he or they pointed that out in their video about LeBron during his seasons in Miami, about how Dwayne Wade is essentially like a mini version of LeBron, which is how I've always felt about him as well.
Unfortunately, their second best player, Dwayne Wade, was a poor three-point shooter, which wasn't an ideal fit next to James. Wade was coming off one of the great peaks in league history himself, and in many ways was functionally similar to LeBron. He was a dangerous finisher and difficult to keep out of the lane, and he could spearhead an entire offense with a pick-and-roll game as well. In effect, this made him LeBron's backup because the Heat could flank James or Wade with identical lineups. But since neither of them were really good spot-up shooters, on possessions initiated by Wade, LeBron was less valuable standing in the corner. A good shooter just ends up with a high percentage 3 there instead.
They both dominate the ball a lot, will essentially be the point guard for their teams, are slashers who can't really shoot but will attack the rim relentlessly. Very similar games there. So when they played together, it was kind of an awkward fit because there was so much overlap between the two of them skill-wise. You'd rather have a duo or big 3 where the skills sets of the players complement each other instead of overlapping like that. Another difference between LeBron and Wade and LeBron and Westbrook: when LeBron played for the Heat, the NBA was different back then than it is now. Shooting is emphasized a lot more. Hell, back then, the Heat would sometimes play with an actual center on the floor, and that center wouldn't be someone who could shoot. They'd have Joel Anthony, Aljunas Izalskis, or sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, Chris Anderson, Haslam sometimes. So 3-point shooting and spacing was not as emphasized back then, although the Heat team did kind of, in a way, pioneer that because that team had a lot of shooting on it. But even then, Chris Bosh, people think of Chris Bosh as a 3-point shooter. He was not a 3-point shooter for most of his career. And during his time playing with LeBron, he was mainly spotting up in the mid-range, not in the 3-point line. If you don't believe me, look up his 3-point attempts. He was never really shooting that many threes. He kind of did in the 2 seasons without LeBron, and maybe the last season with LeBron. Although unfortunately, those 2 seasons were cut short. Anyway, the 3-point shooting was not as important back then as it is now. So that's another difference right there. And a third difference is that we were dealing with a younger LeBron. The Miami Heat teams never played at a fast pace. Believe it or not, they were a middle-of-the-pack team by pace. But when they got out in transition, they were deadly. And since LeBron and Westbrook are both a bit older, I don't know if it will be quite as effective as LeBron and Wade were in that regard. And another thing that I dislike about Westbrook is his decision-making. and the shots he'll take and the passes he'll make sometimes, especially late in games. We saw Westbrook play with Kevin Durant for so many years. I wonder why is he taking that shot at this time instead of giving it up to Durant, or I don't know, running a different play or something. And sure, you could probably put a lot of that on Scott Brooks, but it's not exactly, Frank Vogel is not exactly a great offensive coach either. I wonder, has Westbrook changed since then? And if not, will LeBron be able to, I don't know, listen to LeBron more, I guess? Or is Durant a vocal leader? Maybe Durant just never told Westbrook, hey man, I should be taking most of the big shots in the fourth quarter, or I should be making most of the decisions or something. I don't know. It also is true that Kevin Durant is not quite the playmaker or ball handler that LeBron is. So late in games, Westbrook might be handling it more than Durant, which is why Westbrook might end up making a lot more decisions than Durant does in those situations. But with the Lakers and with LeBron, he's going to be the one orchestrating the offense, especially the tighter the game is. So maybe they won't have that issue as much. But the problem still is, though, teams are going to sag off of Westbrook and collapse the paint on LeBron. And then when Westbrook has the ball, they might sag off of LeBron as well. And this Lakers team, three-point shooting has not been a strength of theirs the last few seasons, and they just lost one of their better shooters in KCP, and Kyle Kuzma is streaky, I guess. Honestly, I'm not sure how LeBron and Westbrook and AD on the floor are going to work together. Just not really seeing it.